back, everybody. Matt the Matt here. I'm going to warn you right now. This is going to be a spoiler review for the new Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man No Way Home. Got to check this out yesterday. Finally got out of the house. My mom finally let me out of the house. We gotta keep them in the basement. We can't let them out. But no, I'm finally able to get out finally after 2 weeks of this lovely knee brace. Don't know if you can see that. So, let's get into it. Spider-Man No Way Home. I've been looking forward to this movie. I said, obviously, other than from Batman, I am a Spider-Man fan. I'm talking about it non-stop. The movie posters I've had, bobbleheads, all the Spider-Man movies I own. Tobey Maguire being my favorite Spider-Man to play Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And so, I said, time to go see Spider-Man. So let's get into it. Now, positive. Tom Holland. Tom Holland is great, once again. But actually, I would agree with everyone who's saying this is the best Tom Holland performance as Peter Parker and Spider-Man so far. I mean, he's been good. He's been very good in all the other ones. But here, you really see another side to Peter Parker that Tom Holland is able to go all the way with and give us the best performance of him playing Spider-Man so far. I love the Peter and MJ relationship. Like I said, we got to see that in the last movie, Far From Home. Here, you really, really, really buy the relationship. I would almost say, honestly, the Gwen and Peter relationship in the Amazing Spider-Man movies is the best on-screen chemistry of two actors in a comic book film. But here, Peter and MJ, played by Zendaya, they really connect, and apparently, yes, now in real life, they are in a relationship. So maybe while they were filming this one, or maybe in between Far From Home and No Way Home, they got into a relationship. But you really saw the chemistry this time around between them, and it worked. William Dafoe is back as the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, and once again, an actor that we sometimes overlook or don't really talk about when it comes to actors playing a character or a villain in a comic book film. Like I said, we talk about Heath Ledger's Joker, some of the villain, Thanos, and Infinity War. But sometimes we even bring up Alfred Molina's Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2, but we rarely talk about William Dafoe as the Green Goblin in that first Spider-Man movie in 2002. And let me tell you, this guy hasn't missed one step since 2002. Almost 20 years ago next year, since the first Spider-Man movie, and this guy hasn't missed a beat here. And the great thing is about this time around, he's not wearing the mask that covers his face. They just let William Dafoe go all in. All the facial expressions, all the menacing looks, the crackling laugh. I mean, William Dafoe is top notch once again in this movie. And like they say, the Green Goblin is the Joker into what the Joker is to Batman. Green Goblin is Spider-Man's Joker. And you really see that in this movie. Alfred Molina returns as Dr. Octopus, Doc Ock. Once again, does a great job. Once again, another actor that never missed a beat from the first one to the second one. from 2004 Spider-Man 2 until now. And once again, it like you just jumped from 2004 to 2021, and it was just the very next day. Like, no time has passed. Obviously, I love seeing both of them, William Dafoe and Alfred Molina, because I grew up with them with the Tobey Maguire films. And then before the MCU and whatever, or even The Dark Knight, they were pretty much the standout villains of the time. William Dafoe's Green Goblin, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock. So, to see them return was great. And they had the most screen time out of the villains. I also love they used one line from William Dafoe's Norman Osborn from the original Spider-Man. You know, I'm something of a scientist myself. They used that again in this movie. It worked perfectly. It didn't feel too on the nose. It didn't feel like a gimmick. Just like with Alfred Molina's Doc Ock. The power of the sun in the palm of my hand. He says that line once or twice in this movie. Got all the feels. All the nostalgia. The cinematography is excellent in this movie. Especially by like the halfway point in the movie. Some of the best looking shots in any Spider-Man film were in this movie. You see one shot in the trailer. Peter Parker's face is all bloody. Rain is coming down. Great shot. Then they have a wide shot of him looking at the New York screen with his face, Public Enemy #1. Rain coming down. Neon lights in the background. Beautiful shot. I mean, I was looking at that shot going, I'm so glad I'm seeing this movie in a Dolby theater. That is like amazing shot. Also in the end, him flying around, swinging around in New York at night with snow coming down. Great looking. So cinematography, awesome. Pacing. This movie's over 2.5 hours. The longest Spider-Man movie. And it flies by. I could not believe when we got to the third act when Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield show up. I said this is a spoiler review. So, don't be like, oh my god, he spoiled it. I could not believe we were already in the third act of the movie. And then before you know it, the movie was over and I was like, that was 2.5 hours? That has to be the fastest Spider-Man movie I've ever seen. And it's also the longest Spider-Man movie. So, great pacing. Oh, and so let's get into it. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in this movie. They show up at the beginning of the third act. And it's glorious. It's not a gimmick. It doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel gimmicky or cliched. It's perfect. Andrew Garfield is great. Once again, Tobey Maguire, my favorite Spider-Man. Just seeing him on screen was brilliant. Him interacting with Andrew Garfield at first. Then him interacting with Tom Holland. Great material. A lot of great moments. I love how the first scene with all three of them, it's not a joking moment, it's not a cliche, it's not like a ha-ha moment. It's a deep conversation, because at that point that our Peter Parker, Tom Holland, just got killed by Aunt May, by the Green Goblin, and he's sad, he's depressed, he's lonely, and Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield show up, and they bond over the death of the people that gave them the line of all lines. With great power comes great responsibility. Tobey Maguire is bonding over the death of Uncle Ben. Andrew brings up Uncle Ben, but he also brings up Gwen Stacy and him losing the love of his life. And then we deal with obviously Tom Holland just losing his Aunt May. I mean, it was like, to me, the best scene in the movie was that scene. a perfect way to connect all these Spider-Men together. And it was just seeing these different age groups of Spider-Men all on screen, wearing their Spider-Man suits. Well, I love seeing Tobey Maguire back in the original Spider-Man suit from the Sam Raimi movies. And Garfield still wearing the same suit from the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I love they have scenes of them working in a lab as, being nerdy and scientific. Like that's what Peter Parker is. So all three of them working together was great. I love the scene when they're the final battle when they're fighting and they're all in their Spider-Man suits. Great. They're all interacting. I love the moment. Talk about a great callback for Tobey Maguire. We have a scene where Tobey and Andrew are talking and Tobey's like, oh, my back. In Spider-Man 2, when he got shit for that, and between Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2, he didn't want to come back for Spider-Man 2, because he said he had an injury, he hurt his back, and technically he wanted more money. But they made fun of that in the Spider-Man 2, where he's like, I'm back. Then he falls, and he hits the car, and then he goes, oh, my back. They bring that up in this movie, and both Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are bonding over now being an older Spider-Man, how they have aches and pains and, back injuries. Perfect. Are they, oh, come on, yes, I want more of this. Then they talk about the web shooters, how, Tobey, when he got bit by a spider, they were just automatically in him, whereas Andrew and Tom had to build actual web shooters on their wrists in order to, shoot the web out. What else? So yeah, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, great. Tobey Maguire looked great, even at almost 50 years old. I wish they had Mary Jane Watson in there, Kirsten Dunst, but they do not. What else? I love how this actually completed the Tom Holland trilogy, that by the end of the movie, a little spoiler here, in order for things to go back to normal, Doctor Strange had to wipe away everybody's memory of Spider-Man, including the Avengers, including Ned, including MJ. So basically by the end of this movie, this is Spider-Man 1.0. Like, this is actually, by the end of the Spider-Man No Way Home, this is truly the beginning of Spider-Man. That going forward now, we're going to see a Spider-Man that we're used to. No Tony Stark mentor, no Tony Stark gadgets, no Avengers, no nothing. He's living in an apartment by himself. He's going to find a job at the Daily Bugle. He's going to find some new love interest. Maybe Gwen Stacy. Maybe Betty Brant. Who knows? Maybe another MJ. But not the same MJ. I don't know. But this makes me so happy to know that going forward we're going to get the Spider-Man that a lot of people have wanted with Tom Holland, but we haven't gotten in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Also, there's not that much Doctor Strange. That was another thing people were about. Oh, another mentor for Peter Parker, just like Tony Stark in Homecoming, Nick Fury in Far From Home. But no, Doctor Strange is in very, very little. Even less than Tony Stark was in Homecoming. So, he's in the first, he's at the beginning, and then he's in the end. And that's it. So, the action scenes are great. The one on the bridge with Doc Ock, great. The most brutal one is in the Happy Hogan's apartment, where the Green Goblin attacks And it's brutal, violent, bloody, great. The ending battle with all three Spider-Man, awesome. Even the fight with Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, really cool. Very Inception-like. But let me get into the negatives. Yes, negatives. The first act of the movie is very clunky in the editing. Moments just kind of, scenes would just end abruptly. And it was just like all over from, Spider-Man being outed. So all of a sudden, the lawyer shows up. Matt Murdock, Daredevil himself. And they quickly get that over with. And it was just like, boom, boom, and like, wait, like all up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And it was just all over the place in the first act or so. I was very disappointed that Electro, Sandman, and Lizard do not get that much development. They're just in there. Especially Electro. When Jamie Foxx was one of the first people they announced that was coming back before Alfred Molina. And when they announced, I thought, Electro's going to be a big part of this movie. He's going to be like the main villain. And not only is he not really the main villain, but he really doesn't do anything in this movie. And his character from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is very different from this Electro we have in this movie. Doc Ock, Green Goblin, they're exactly the same from their respective movies, Spider-Man 2 and The Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man of Tobey Maguire era. But for some reason they changed. Sandman's the same, but he doesn't really do anything. Lizard's the same, he doesn't do anything. But Electro, they might completely change the character from the nerdy, obsessive over Spider-Man into Electro just being Jamie Foxx. Like, you're getting Jamie Foxx, you're not getting Electro in this movie. And that was a bummer for me. I thought if any villain needed to be redeemed from their previous movie, it was Electro. Problems, or one of the main worries I had going into this movie, was that there were going to be 5 villains, but none of these villains connected to Tom Holland's Peter Parker, Spider-Man. They were all villains from other universes. And I was hoping that maybe, just maybe, that there was going to be a 6th villain to make the Sinister Six. And they don't want to reveal that villain yet, because A, it might be Scorpion, who was in Homecoming, and was in the post-credit scene, or Mysterio's Great Art Illusions. Now, we're going to find out that Mysterio is still alive, and that's how Peter Parker is able to free himself from the wall, that he really didn't kill Mysterio. But no, there were no other villains. So this Peter Parker had no personal villains to fight in this movie. And yes, eventually he does have a problem with the Green Goblin who kills Aunt May. But that's not until halfway through the movie. That's not until the end of the second act, before going into the third act. So, it was great once that happened. Peter Parker really had, Tom Holland's Peter Parker finally had someone to go after on a personal level. But other than that, he had no one to really fight that was really in his universe. So I thought that was a little bit of a missed opportunity. Maybe if you're going to have 3 Spider-Men in there, have one more villain to be 6. I don't know, not that this is a negative, but I did think it was weird during the fight scenes. They had Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man fighting the Lizard. I don't know, and they had Andrew Garfield Spider-Man fighting Sandman. When Tobey Maguire was the main villain of Spider-Man 3 was Sandman, and Andrew Garfield's main villain in The Amazing Spider-Man was the Lizard. So I don't know why they used to have them fighting their respective villains. I still like the moment that Doc Ock had with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. It was a nice, reunion of both of them on screen. Just like with Andrew Garfield and Electro, Andrew Garfield and the Lizard, even Tobey Maguire and Flint Marko, Sandman. I wish we got to see Mary Jane, and I mean Tobey Maguire's Kirsten Dunst. We didn't. But overall, like I said, I was very happy with this movie. Is it my favorite Spider-Man movie? No. I still put Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2 and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 1 ahead of it. Do I think it's one of the better Tom Holland movies? Yes. But I'm also one of the few that really like Homecoming. The one with Michael Keaton as the Vulture. But I would give this probably like a 4.5, 4.7 out of 5. A very good Spider-Man movie. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next in the future. And also, I wish we got more of J. Jonah Jameson. They got J.K. Simmons back, but J. Jonah Jameson wasn't in this movie that much. Not only that, we never had a scene of them interacting with either Tobey, Andrew, or Tom Holland. I would have loved to see a scene with Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, and J. Jonah Jameson, J.K. Simmons. That would have been a great opportunity there. But anyway, I'm very, very hopeful for the future of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I think we're going to get the Spider-Man movies a lot of people have wanted. I think there's also now potential of maybe seeing Andrew Garfield return in his own solo film. There's potential to maybe see Tobey Maguire back as Spider-Man. I have a feeling we're going to see Tobey Maguire back in Doctor Strange 2. It's directed by Sam Raimi. Anyway, I was a fan of this. I enjoyed a lot of it. Like I said, as much as I was a little bit on the edge of my seat in the movie, not because of the movie, but the way I had to sit in the theater because of my leg, and the recliner seats didn't go all the way up. I was smiling so much throughout this movie that you would think I was like a 7-year-old kid on Christmas morning, opening up everything I wanted for Christmas. That's how I felt watching this movie yesterday. Just smiling all the way through. So even though I had some negatives, and that's just the Spider-Man fan in me, and the film person in me, I still really enjoyed this movie. A lot of fun, a lot of nostalgia, a lot of great moments, and a very good Spider-Man film. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. Or I don't know why you're watching me. And when you just like looking at this face.